What's going on, guys? Dom here, and this information was sent to me by Tord Jacobson. He's a subscriber of mine. He's been there since the beginning, and he's an awesome guy. Tord, I appreciate you for sending this. This is an amazing bit of information, and this was posted by Buffett Borrells. I believe I'm pronouncing that wrong or right. I'm not sure. I hope I'm getting it right. You got to put these sources out here. I'm going to link both their Twitters in the description below, and I'm linking this article in the sources, so if you want to check it out, please go ahead and read it. It's awesome. I'm going to go through this, and then at the end, I'm going to give you a summarization. I've read through it already, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an amazing analogy that I think works perfectly for this. And analogies I picked up from a friend of mine. His name's Willie Earl Reed. He's really good at making analogies. Awesome Pokemon trainer, and I'm going to do my best to make him proud. So let's jump right into this. So Go asked to make this its own post, so I decided to clean it up and add some supporting materials. The fundamental problem with Pokemon currently is a strained relationship between Nintendo and Game Freak. The Pokemon Company is sort of the overarching name for Pokemon in general, shared by Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures, who do side games, of course. In short, Pokemon makes a ton of money, as they should, but Pokemon games make less than you think. From 2013 to 2015, the Pokemon Company pulled in $16 million selling games like Black and White 2 and X and Y. In 2016, when Pokemon Go came out, they made $144 million, almost 26 years worth of profit. That is ridiculous, guys. Video game sales have made up only 19% of Pokemon Go's absurd total gross since 1996. Everything else goes through TPC, which is the Pokemon Company, that's the short version of it, and gets split three ways, as best we know. Nintendo stands to make money on Pokemon in four ways: merchandise, game sales, console sales, and additional game sales via new console owners. You'll probably pick up a Nintendo game if you buy Switch, mostly for Pokemon. Makes perfect sense. There wasn't a Pokemon game when the Switch dropped, so you probably bought Legend of Zelda and Mario Odyssey. Makes perfect sense. Game Freak stands... Oh, I'm sorry, I already read that part. Nintendo mostly want Pokemon to sell merch and sell consoles, which is why there's always been a new Pokemon game to launch alongside new handhelds. The quality of the games themselves don't really matter too much to them, which that in itself is a huge problem, guys. Please remember that. It's a huge problem. Game Freak makes the games, but they're a much smaller studio than the size of Pokemon would suggest. Nintendo and TPC can't force Game Freak to get bigger and don't have any technical say in what they develop. Just control over whether or not it gets to be called Pokemon. Nintendo have huge sway over Game Freak due to their sheer size and sole ownership of the trademark. If no more Pokemon games or merch were made during a legal battle, Nintendo would be fine and Game Freak would be not. So we're seeing who's the parent here, who's the alpha, and who's ever else falling in line after this. This means Game Freak has huge pressure to keep making the game fit the new systems. Can't really help sell the 3DS if your game is 2D. Being pushed off the 2D ledge into 3D was a huge mistake for Game Freak, since they now had to stop all game design and throw bodies at making 721 high-resolution 3D models, and that's just the Pokemon. It's clear looking through X and Y that they were bumping up against the technology more than their own incompetence. Black and White 2 had huge sprawling routes, completely new environments, and cool, complicated dungeons. X and Y put Mewtwo in the hallway. They did. The game was clearly rushed, and while you can't say definitively, stuff like Mega Evolution has been a huge hit for merchandising, and there's been guesses that it was suggested from down on high, both Black and White and X and Y didn't have too many marketable Pokemon, which is why Greninja got trotted out so often, and you could see why Nintendo might push for a guaranteed hit. Mega Charizard alone has probably made TPC $10 million. So guys, there's a lot of information in here, and it seems like to me that obviously Game Freak was not ready to take on the frontier of 3D, and it was just rushed out. And what they're saying about Pokemon Black and White is completely true. If you think about the starter Pokemon, at least usually one of the starter Pokemon stands out. Emboar was just rehashed Blaziken. Superior lost his arms. People didn't really like that, and Samurott was kind of the one who was like he was a cut above the rest in most people's eyes. But he wasn't Charizard, he wasn't Greninja, he didn't have that thing that made people love him. So, not to mention that every 10 years Game Freak is asked to remake the games they've already made. Fire Red and Leaf Green were remakes in order to have a Kanto game compatible with Gen 3's hard lock on transferring Pokemon. While you can tell that Game Freak enjoyed making Gold and Silver based on just how much love was put into that game, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire show what happened when a game studio already feeling pushed to the brink is asked to skip their third version of poorly received games to remake one they've already made. Zero Battle Frontier removed all the Emerald's improvements, more megas. So what they're saying here is that instead of getting a Pokemon Z, we got Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, which was rushed. And that makes perfect sense, guys. There's no Battle Frontier. It was just rushed. It was like, just get the game out, remake it, add something else, and call it a day. And that's why we got no Battle Frontier, which I think that's unfair to us as fans, especially being a remake. But that may be me being entitled to some degree, and I'll put my ego aside for this video. So let's see. It's not said aloud, but there's been more and more tension between Game Freak and Nintendo. With Pokemon Go's popularity, Nintendo can see the profitable future without being beholden to Game Freak's artistic decision, which is also why they're now launching tons of Pokemon apps, Masters, Quest, Sleep. Game Freak feels like they're being pushed out and are hoping they can launch another franchise that Nintendo doesn't have a stake in. Since Black and White 2, they've developed 4 games without Nintendo stretching their already short staff thin. They famously ask, what non-Pokemon game would you make that would sell well to new applicants? That's a problem. If they're focused on bringing in new people into their fold and their first question is, what can you bring to us that's not Pokemon related? That's a problem, because if I came to the Pokemon company or Game Freak to get a job interview, my mind is set on helping them make a Pokemon game. But the first question you ask me is, why is it, what can you do for us that's not Pokemon related? I'm kind of stopped in my tracks. I don't even know if someone were to ask me that question and I was in that position, I wouldn't even know what to tell you. I would be confused. I would ask you a lot of questions that you probably wouldn't be able to answer as an employer. I would probably ask you, why are we not focusing on Pokemon? And you can't tell me the ins and outs of you and the company's problems like Nintendo and Game. You wouldn't be able to tell someone who's not even a part of your company why you're asking them this question. This is just it's kind of like a hard stop for applicants, which it seems like that may be stifling some of them bringing in new people to help make the games. Let's move on. They can't try to hold Pokemon hostage by not making games anymore, since Nintendo can make tons of money without them, and they can't make Pokemon games unless it's by Nintendo's decree. Let's see, have you seen the trailer for their new game Town? Which games look like they're more excited about making? Most of this was explained to me by someone working at TPC International when I worked with them. Most of it is stuff you can look up yourself, understanding who owns what and who stands to profit from each type of decision. See, this is all extremely important information, guys. This is groundbreaking that we didn't see this before, and the analogy I'm about to make, I hope it hits home with some of you guys. It will not hits home on an emotional level, but on a logical level that it makes sense to you. If just me reading it and adding in my 2 cents didn't do it for you. So let's say you're a 12-year-old kid. You have a mom. You grew up with your mom, right? And your mom gets remarried to a guy. Let's just call him Charles. So your stepdad's name is Charles. Your stepdad has a decent amount of money. Then so he funds your mom's dream. Your mom wants to be a baker. So he opens up a bakery for her, and this bakery is doing outstanding. It's bringing in a lot of money, and it's doing perfectly fine. But eventually your stepdad sees that it's doing extremely well, but he wants to do a lot more. But your mom is just fine with where she's at. She's fine with working in the 2D setting, but your stepdad wants to push her over into this 3-dimensional setting that she's not comfortable with at this time. So what your stepdad does, being that he actually was the one who put the money up, so he essentially owns the trademark to this bakery, he decides he's going to buy a cart. He's going to buy a cart and put this cart in the middle of the business district in a park somewhere that sells your mom's goods. So now your mom has to try to bring customers to the shop. They have to get off work, drive to this bakery, park at the bakery, get the food, wait in line, and then drive back to wherever they work, which may be a ways away. But this cart that your stepdad just set up, and let's say your stepdad has this new side chick. Let's say he has like a girlfriend on the side that your mom may or may not be aware of, but you're aware of none of this. And the girlfriend is now working at the cart. That cart is bringing in a lot more money. Let's say that cart brings in 144 million, which is 26 years worth of profit that your mom would have made, right? So follow me with this. your mom is not making enough money to keep up with that cart. So your stepfather realizes that he doesn't need your mom anymore. He can just set up a bunch of different carts that's more accessible, because a cart in the middle of a business district, if you guys live in a big city at all, people can just walk outside of their workplace and in the business district, just go to the park. They can just get the food, sit on the benches. They can go right back to the workplace in 5 minutes. It's far more accessible. That's the Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go is far more accessible than the Pokemon games, because for the Pokemon games, you have to go to the store. You have to go buy the Switch. You have to go pick up the game. Your mom, at this point, let's say your mom's GameStop. Your mom, like, she's, well, maybe not GameStop, but that's terrible. But she's more out of the way than the cart is. The cart is more accessible. You can download it and start throwing Pokeballs at Pokemon immediately. You're making far more money. The cart's doing way better. And you look to your mom and you say, "Hey mom, what's going on? Why aren't you using the bakery?" Your mom at this point, she gets a second or a third job. She's trying to branch out to make her own money that has nothing to do with your stepfather's company or the actual bakery. And you're asking her, like, what's going on? At this point, you're upset at her. Why are you doing all these side things? Why don't you focus on the bakery? But all this is unknown to you. You don't know about the cart. You don't know about the trademark. You don't know anything about this. So we're obviously that consumer. We're the child. At this point in the Pokemon community, we've been berating and being belligerent and bashing the Pokemon company and, Game Freak, our mother, while the actual person that's doing this to us is Nintendo. It's just crazy to think that we didn't see this before, especially me, and I have to apologize for things that I said in the past in videos. I think I made a video saying that they're not prioritizing Pokemon, but now after seeing this, it's perfectly plausible why they're not. Here we are, this kid that's been spoiled since 1990 whatever year Pokemon Red, Green, and whatever came out, and we're telling our mom, why don't you just keep doing the same thing you've been doing, not realizing that she's been dealing with all this behind the scenes, the side chick or the girlfriend, the bakery not being owned by you. She can't even branch out and take some of the pastries out of the bakery and put it somewhere else, because all that is trademarked under the company that your stepfather owns. And now your mom's being attacked on all sides. Her own kid is attacking her. The stepfather is about to take the company and just take the money and all of it with him, and the girlfriend's selling far more. There's no need for your mom even to be around. So I think as fans, we need to chill. Seriously, I don't want to post any of the nasty tweets here, but people have been sending things at the Pokemon company and Game Freak and Masuda and just bashing them, and it's terrible, man. It's like you can see in his face when he was talking about the whole not being able to transfer the Pokemon, Masuda didn't want to be there. He felt like he was being, I think the way it seemed like, he felt like he was a sock puppet. He was just talking because they told him to talk, and they told him what to say. And there's just, if you look back at Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I bash it all the time on this channel. Honestly, I call it Ultra DLC, because essentially, I mean, it's rushed. Their end game content was running through this weird Twitter notification, this weird time hole to get shiny Pokemon in these wormholes, which were just like different places, but nothing, just one Pokemon standing there. It was rushed, and it's just, there's no Battle Frontier in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. It was Black and White 2 and Heart Gold and Soul Silver are my favorite games right now, and it makes sense why they are, because they put more love into that. They weren't rushed on that. But X and Y just, that was it. It was like they didn't know what to do. They couldn't give you an epic battle from Mewtwo because they were being rushed to make Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, so they stuck him in a hallway. The same thing that people were bashing Final Fantasy 13 for doing. They're calling it Final Fantasy Hallway because the exploration was just non-existent compared to the previous games. And they're people bashing Nintendo. They're bashing Game Freak. They're bashing Masuda. And that's not right. We can't sit here and bash our mothers, and the actual like culprit of all of this strife and turmoil is our stepfather. And I'm not saying that for you guys to hop on Twitter and go attack attack the actual company that's behind this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying lay off of Masuda. That guy, if you look at his Twitter, he's an amazing guy. He spends his time eating healthy food and going on walks and just loving the company that he's working for. But unbeknownst to us, he's really taking a beating. And legally, he can't do anything without destroying everything he's built up to this point. We can't, as fans, we can't do this. We can't do this to someone who's done this for us, who put his heart and his soul into these games to make us feel welcome in this fantasy world that he's made, and we all love their characters. So the whole thing about not having the Pokemon, all the Pokemon in Sword and Shield, we got to drop that, man. We really got to drop attacking them for that, because it's not their decision. It's probably, I mean, they're probably being rushed for these games. Everyone knew that they had the models for every single Pokemon in Pokemon Sun and Moon, so we were like, why didn't we get following Pokemon? Why didn't we get this? Why didn't we get that? They were rushed. They're probably being rushed right now. So it's just like they're telling them, like, I don't care what you do, pick the best pastries in the bakery, and that's all I want in there. Take out all the other stuff that people kind of don't really buy. But your mom really loves all the pastries in there. She wants everyone to have it, the option for it to be there. But your stepdad's like, no. The one that barely sells, that one guy down the street buys every day, he's just one person. Take that out. And I have to apologize to all of you. I definitely made a video the other day saying that I'm not sure what Pokemon I bashed. I think it was Dunsparce. I was like, no one likes Dunsparce. It's probably that kid somewhere that was just like me back in the year 2001, who he probably likes Dunsparce like I like the Pokemon that's obscure. I liked Sudowoodo. He wasn't just a thing to me, and I apologize to anyone if I offended you for saying that this Pokemon is useless. There isn't a useless Pokemon. And it's sad, and I'm disappointed in myself for I had to see this to actually come to my senses and realize it. I know I definitely wasn't going as hard, and I'm not trying to say that, oh, don't attack me because I wasn't going as hard as these other people, but I should definitely hold myself to a higher standard, and I apologize for that sincerely. So I don't know what to do. This is the information we have here, and I don't even know if I can help. Can I help? I don't know. Can you guys help? Like, what do we actually do? The petitions for the national decks have already started. Will it do anything? Honestly, probably not. If Nintendo, if they don't really care about the quality of the games, and they just want us to put it out, they just want us to put it out for like sales and merchandise and more Pokemon Go stuff and more apps, they don't care about that petition. They don't. Guys, in short, I probably made this super long and maybe a little bit emotional, but we gotta like take care of our mothers. We gotta love Game Freak because they're the ones who've been doing it for us. Nintendo, I'm not saying bash them. That's not what I'm saying. Please don't do that. Don't get yourself in trouble on Twitter or something along those lines. I don't have a solution. Really, I don't. I'd have to sit down and think about it for a very long time with a few of my colleagues. Perhaps you, Reed, if you're watching this, and discuss what would be the way to go about this. I really don't know. This is like the first time I think with this channel I've completely hit a stump that I can't get over with thinking enough just on my own. I think the video's dragging because I'm trying to mull over it in my head and give you an answer right now, but I can't. I hope you guys take this information in stride. I hope you understand it, and I hope the analogy makes sense to you. That is not Game Freak doing this. If this is true, and all this makes perfect sense, everything here makes perfect sense. Like those leaks make perfect sense. This makes sense. Leave Masuda alone. Right now, he's probably under a lot of stress. He needs love more than anything. He needs people in his corner more than anything. He's probably overworked. I don't know how much he gets paid, but not enough to deal with this. No one should be going through this. Years of building something up and having it taken out from underneath you, or being rushed to do something, and eventually it'll get to the point where Game Freak's cut out. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I think that'll do it, guys. I hope I didn't bring you down too much. But this seems to be the reality of things. And that'll do it for this video. Dom.